Hello and welcome to this week's Key Stage 3 literacy session. There are a number of activities throughout this session, so it may take you up to 2 to 3 hours. Feel free to come back to the lesson at any point. You may also need a dictionary or access to a search engine on a computer. Again, feel free to use whichever is best for you. So the first part of this lesson that we're looking at are apostrophes for contraction, so to shorten words. We tend to use apostrophes to shorten words when it's in an informal conversation or in a descriptive piece of writing or story writing. It doesn't tend to be used in formal pieces of writing. So when you contract the words, when you shorten them, you take two words and put them into one. So what I want you to do is put the apostrophe in the correct place for each word on the left-hand side where it says word, but then I want you also to write out the longer form of the two words. An example of this is the word he is. If you shorten it, it turns into he's. So you put the apostrophe where the letter is missing. So the I is missing, so you would put the apostrophe there. Now, you have the word heed. Well, it looks like head, but because the apostrophe isn't in there, but if you did, it would say heed. So heed is the shortened version of he would. So the four letters there that are in red, W-O-U-L, you remove them and you place the apostrophe where the letters are missing. So heed, H-E apostrophe D. Now, let's have a look at the other words I need you to do today. Shed, she'd, aren't, doesn't, well becomes we'll, it's, I'd, haven't, shan't, won't, she's, that'll, hell is actually he'll, and were is we're. So I need you to place the apostrophes in there and then write out the two words. Now, I want you to pause this clip now and I want you to write down the information into your exercise books. Now, here are the answers. So, he'd is he would. She'd is she would. So, again, you lose the W-O-U-L, you push the words together and place the apostrophe between the E and the D. Aren't is are not, doesn't, does not, will is we will, it's, it is, I'd, I would, haven't, have not, shan't is shall not, won't is will not, she's, she is, that'll, that will, he'll, he will, and we're, we are. So again, you place the apostrophe where the letters are missing. The only difference here, or the exception, is will not becomes won't. So you will just need to learn it in that way. Okay, so the next session today we're looking at are prefixes. Now, you may have learned about prefixes in Key Stage 1 when you were in reception or years 1 or year 2. So prefixes are a word, a letter or a number which is placed before another group of letters which changes the meaning of a word when they are added to the start. Now, if you wish to gain more information about this, you can look at Key Stage 3 BBC Bite Size for further explanation, and there are plenty of tasks on there. Now, again, you may need to use a dictionary or a search engine to help you, and there are two tasks. The first one is you need to find two words that start with that prefix, and then I want you to find out the meaning of the prefix. So the prefixes are anti, auto, bi, bio, circum, extra, and multi. So can you think of any words that start with those prefixes? So if you can, in your exercise books, write them all down first and then go to use a dictionary. And then can you try and think about what the prefix, what they actually mean? Okay, so try to have a go at that before you look it up. Okay, you may want to pause the slide here before we go on to the answers. So The prefix for anti means the opposite of or against. So you've got anti-clockwise, so it goes in the opposite direction to clockwise, and antibiotic. Auto, for example, autobiography or automatic. Bi, bicycle or bilingual. So if you're bilingual, you can speak more than one language. Bio for biology and biodegradable, and the meaning of that prefix is life. Circum means, so for example, circumcise or circumstance, or you can circumnavigate the globe, which means you go around the world. Extra for extraordinary or extraction. And finally, multi for multimedia or multiplier, which means many. I wonder how many of them you got correct. Feel free at any time to take a picture of your work, to email it to us, send it to us, on whichever media platform that you prefer. And we will be giving out prizes and rewards for those students who do produce the best work. So the next task. So these words are incredibly difficult. All 10 of these words are in the spelling test that you would have done when you joined the Edge Academy. What I would like you to do again is use a dictionary or a search engine to find out the definitions of these words. Again, you may know already what these words mean, so feel free to write them down in your exercise books. So today's words are precocious, eligible, insatiable, villainy, crescent, centenary, catastrophe, seize, foreign, and gradual. Now, all of these words have actually got a peculiar spelling pattern. So please have a look at them, see which words have a silent letter in, or perhaps a vowel that's in a different order to how it normally would be. So I want you to pause this now, and I want you to take your time. It might take you about 20 to 25 minutes to find out the definitions of these words. Okay, so on to the answers. So precocious. Now I tend to think that precocious has got quite a negative connotation, but precocious is there to describe a child who is very clever and has developed earlier than is usual or expected. So they can be quite adult-like in the way they do things. So you might say of a child, "Oh, I find her extremely precocious." Eligible. So if you are eligible, you have the right to do something because you have met the conditions. Somebody who's been to prison might be eligible for parole, so they can come up now to discuss whether they're allowed out of prison or not, because they've done the right thing and they've met the conditions that were put in place for them. Number 3, insatiable. So if you've got an insatiable appetite, it is impossible to satisfy that appetite and you want as much food as you can. So sometimes it's referred to, if someone can't stop eating, they might have an insatiable appetite. Now, villainy is very bad criminal behaviour. Now, number 5, crescent. I actually used to live in a crescent called Useley Crescent. So a crescent is a curved shape. It's like a curved shape, like the shape of the moon in its first or last quarter, almost like the shape of a banana. A centenary represents a period of 100 years. So, for example, there may be a centenary of 100 years of the First World War or the Second World War. Catastrophe. A catastrophe is an unexpected event which causes great damage or suffering. So, for example, if a hurricane hits a country and the landscape is devastated, people will say that hurricane was a catastrophe. Now, to seize somebody's arm, you grab hold of it quickly, firmly, and forcefully. Sometimes armies have to go in and seize hold of a country. So if you seize hold of a country, you take control of it. Foreign. So something foreign is something or someone that relates to a country other than your own. Sometimes you can say, "Oh, what's that foreign matter in my food?" So it's something that's not meant to be there. Gradual. is if you do something slowly over a longer period of time instead of doing it straight away. I wonder how many of them you got correct. So well done for your good attempt. Moving on to the next task. So our word of the day today is rejuvenate. Have you heard of the word rejuvenate before? Again, in your exercise books, what I would like you to do is I want you to find out the meaning of the word rejuvenate. I want you to think of any synonyms, so words that are similar or have the same meaning as rejuvenate. I want you to think of antonyms, write down as many as you can, words that are opposite to rejuvenate, and then I want you to put the word rejuvenate in a sentence. Please can you pause the clip here, because we'll be going on to the answers next. Okay, so the word rejuvenate, it's a verb, it's an action, it's a doing word, and it's where you make someone or something look or feel better or younger. So it's to breathe new life into something. Now, synonyms, so words that are similar in meaning to rejuvenate, are to refresh, to reawaken, to renew and restore. So it's a really, really positive word. Antonyms, so words that are opposite to rejuvenate, are damage, destroy, kill, ruin, lose, or miss. So those antonyms have very negative connotations. So some sentences we could have as examples are: the plant will rejuvenate itself if it has access to light and water. So it will breathe new life into itself if it has light and water. There has been a bid to rejuvenate the town centre, so they want to make it better, to renew it. The expensive cream will rejuvenate your skin. Absolutely, it will make it nicer and smoother. And finally, she felt rejuvenated after her fortnight in the Bahamas. How wonderful would it be to now have a beautiful holiday abroad? Wouldn't we all feel fantastic? So basically, the word rejuvenate is tier 2 vocabulary. Tier 1 vocabulary would be words that are perhaps more used on a day-to-day basis, like renew or restore. Now, if we were to rejuvenate a business, an organisation or a place, it would be to improve the way it works or looks and make it seem fresh. So we have 4 pictures here, and the first picture on the left-hand side is Bali. The picture to the right of it is Antarctica. The bottom left is Egypt and the bottom right is Scotland. So feel free to talk to any family members or in your home, or feel free to write in your exercise books which of those destinations would rejuvenate your soul, would make you feel so much better if you visited there. Now, in the bottom right-hand corner, as you can see there, is you've got the most beautiful buildings, and on the left-hand side, you've got those buildings completely destroyed. So maybe we could rejuvenate that neighbourhood where it's been destroyed and keep the city from declining again, and maybe we could restore it and rebuild it. Okay, so again, the tier 2 word rejuvenate, tier 1 vocabulary would be to breathe new life into something. So for example, a new manager in a football team might have decided to rejuvenate the team by bringing in a lot of new young players. So here are some questions for you. Again, feel free to discuss it with family members, or you can write it down in your exercise books. What do you think England, the England football team, needs to do to rejuvenate it and win a World Cup? So explain your answer. On the left picture, you can see the men's English football team, and on the right, you can see the female English football team. Now, number 2, often exams and assessments take place at the Edge Academy every half a term. How can you go about rejuvenating yourself, make yourself feel better and more refreshed after completing lots of exams? What would you do? And then finally, if you could rejuvenate a family member and keep them youthful forever, would you do it? Why or why not? Okay. Today's recommended read is Mark Haddon's The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night. What I'd like you to do is look at this front cover to this novel, and I want you to think about what you think the story, the plot might be about just from looking at it. Again, give yourself a couple of minutes to pause this video and to really have a good think about what you think it may be about. Now, I would like you to look at this extract from the novel, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. I want you to think about what else you think the novel could be about and how does this opening of this extract here engage the reader. It was 7 minutes after midnight. The dog was lying on the grass in the middle of the lawn in front of Mrs. Shear's house. Its eyes were closed. It looked as if it was running on its side, the way dogs run when they think they're chasing a cat in a dream. But the dog was not running or asleep. The dog was dead. There was a garden fork sticking out of the dog. The points of the fork must have gone all the way through the dog and into the ground because the fork had not fallen over. I decided that the dog was probably killed with the fork because I could not see any other wounds in the dog, and I do not think you would stick a garden fork into a dog after it had died for some other reason, like cancer, for example, or a road accident, but I could not be certain about this. I went through Mrs. Shear's gate, closing it behind me. I walked onto her lawn and knelt beside the dog. I put my hand on the muzzle of the dog. It was still warm. The dog was called Wellington. It belonged to Mrs. Shears, who was our friend. She lived on the opposite side of the road, 2 houses to the left. Wellington was a poodle. Not one of the small poodles that have hairstyles, but a big poodle. It had curly black fur, but when you got close, you could see that the skin underneath the fur was a very pale yellow like chicken. I stroked Wellington and wondered who had killed him and why. Okay, so The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. So what else do you think the novel could be about apart from this? And also, how does this engage you? Again, talk to a family member or feel free to write it down in your exercise book, but make sure you give examples of why you think this opening is engaging. And finally, for today's literacy session, you have your Boggle activity. Now, this one is a little bit more difficult. As you can see, you have 5 letters by 5 letters. There are actually 160 possible answers. So, as you can see, I started in the 4th column down in the 3rd row, and I found the word see. S, E to the right, and take the next down to the next E, C. Then you can have set, S-E-T. Now don't forget, you can make up as many words as you want as long as the letters all touch each other. So the letters can go up, down, left, right, or diagonal. Now I wish you all the very, very best of luck with all of the activities this week. If you would like to win a prize or reward, please feel free to take a picture of the words and send them in to my email address or send it through to any of our media platforms that we've got. We will be collecting your work and bringing out a new work pack to you this week. Okay, take care and best wishes for now. Bye.